You're going to talk to us about to grow our business and delight customers with seamless, data-driven, personalized interactions. And I don't know if you followed the morning session, but the bar is high because that's just about the Holy Grail we were discussing around. So we're very anxious to see what your presentation will bring us and the insights it will give the audience. And if there are any questions from them, I will relay them back to you at the end of the presentations. So take it away.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. So it's good to be here today to talk with you. Hope I don't let you down, but we're going to talk about how you can grow your business by delivering seamless, personalized digital experiences that delight your customers, but more importantly, give your customers what they need when they need it. If we go to the next slide. So I'm sure Greg has touched on some of this, but as a business, Precisely is focused on data integrity and innovative ways in which that data can be applied to make compelling customer experiences that drive business results. And so we released a research report a few days ago that we commissioned from Cranium Intelligence, and it really looked at the impact of COVID-19 on businesses. We surveyed 100 CX leaders, people who hold senior positions, department heads, directors, VPs, C-level executives, and we found significant changes in how businesses are evolving in the age of COVID. As you can see from that quote there from Brian Stewart of AXA, the biggest shift for many companies has been moving from in-person interactions to digital, with 79% of CX leaders saying they've seen an increase in digital customer interactions. And CX leaders don't see that changing post-pandemic. So I think that was really interesting. 55% say that customers will be more likely to use digital self-service going forward. But the picture is complicated because while most respondents did see this trend toward digital technologies accelerating, at the same time, they also agreed that there are some aspects of the job that will always just require a human touch. So that means CX leaders will need to be very thoughtful in how they manage those experiences so they can deliver the kinds of seamless, personalized customer experiences that people want on the channels that they prefer. And yet at the same time, enabling customers to escalate to human agents when needed. If we go to the next slide. We'll see here that CX leaders are reporting disruption basically across all core customer journeys, from the research stage to sales to onboarding, all the way through to renewals. And this is because offices are closed or in-person interactions are limited and situations are changing all the time. So people just can't interact with brands the way that they used to. Client onboarding journeys have been especially effective. If you look at that column, over 80% of CX leaders are reporting disruption there, and 51% of them describe it as a major disruption. So CX leaders are adjusting their strategies, reimagining these key customer journeys, and implementing solutions that either improve them or entirely replace these touch points that have been affected. One respondent, the head of data and analytics at ACS, so he said, it's about being prepared to pivot quickly and being able to tell people what they'll be doing. So that way customers can understand what their options are and what resources are available to help them. Go to the next slide. Take a look at some of the investments. So in response to these market conditions, CX leaders are more focused than ever on using data to deliver more seamless and personalized customer experiences. At the start of the pandemic, businesses were really focused on remote call center capabilities. That seems to be less of a priority now, kind of looking at the months ahead. Instead, as you can see, they plan to upgrade their data integration, their data integrity, or their enrichment technologies. They plan to invest in multi-channel CX platforms, and they're planning to install chatbots with live takeover capabilities. These three technologies look to be the most popular CX investments of 2021, with 60%, 46%, and 42% respectively of all the survey respondents stating their desire to invest in them. Again, it's about providing data-driven personalized engagements across channels and even across parts of your business. As I was joining the call, I heard some conversation around that, right? This idea. So internally, your organization might have different silos. So maybe billing doesn't talk to customer support, and customer support doesn't talk with the social media team, whatever the mix is. Customers don't look at that kind of siloed dysfunction and think, all right, that's okay. It's just a social media team. They didn't know. I don't, yeah. They don't look at it that way. They don't see a business in all its different pieces, all its different departments. They just see you, right? One company, one brand. And if any one part of that brand lets them down, it can change how they view the entire company, even one that they're passionate about. I remember some research from PwC not that long ago. It said that 59% of customers will leave a brand that they love after just two or three negative interactions, right? That's a brand that they love. So CX leaders are keenly aware of this kind of stuff, and that's part of what's driving their interest in these investments. If we go to the next slide, just to add some more complications to the mix here. So at the same time, there's this massive competition for your customers' attention, right? Every day, practically every moment of the day, your customers are under siege. There's content coming at them constantly across different devices, different channels, and that onslaught of information is having an impact on us, right? So you can see here in 2000, the average human attention span was 12 seconds. Uh, for comparison, the average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. And now, collectively, all of us humans are at an average of 8 seconds. So it's not great. That that statistic though is also a little misleading because you might have trouble focusing on a 30-minute meeting, but you can probably also binge watch the latest season of your favorite Netflix series without a problem, right? So what's going on here? It's to reach your customers, that old idea of right message, right channel, right time. Yeah, that thinking still applies, but it is more complicated now. Different channels, different devices, different situational contexts. So it's about overcoming those kind of challenges. If we go to the next slide. Yeah, so what we're seeing out there to overcome those challenges, organizations are evolving. They need to evolve to a higher standard. And we'll look at this from an outside in, from a customer's perspective, and then an inside out from the point of view of the business. For the customer, these kinds of interactions need to be quick, providing real customer value. They need to be contextual, personalized to the customer, customized to their specific circumstances and preferences. And there needs to be a sense of accountability in the experience, a feeling that this experience was easy and natural, that the experience overall was coherent, logical, and it resolved the issue, whatever the issue was. That's kind of the outside in view. If we look inside out, those same concepts apply. Yeah, as a business, you don't have time to wait, months or even weeks to engage your customers. You need the ability to quickly deliver engaging experiences because time waits for nobody, right? And as we've seen, customers are expecting quick, personalized experiences today, not at some far off kind of future date. Customers are expecting also that you know them. They want contextual experiences on the channels that they use. So you need solutions that can take advantage of your existing marketing stack, that integrates with your CRM systems so you can personalize these experiences and then deploy them to the channels and devices that your customers care about and actually use. And then in terms of accountability in the system, it, you shouldn't have to wait a week or more to find out how your latest campaign is performing. You need real-time analytics so you can understand how your customers are engaging with your communications and then take action as needed. So if we go to the next slide, what we're going to do now is go through an example use case to showcase how you can use a variety of digital engagement technologies to create those kind of quick, contextual, personalized experiences that customers want, and also provide a view into how it's done. So what we have up here, um, so we had onboarding. That was one of those customer journeys that's been really impacted globally by world events. So we'll focus on that kind of journey. We'll view the journey through sort of financial lens to make it a bit more understandable, but hopefully you'll see how really this kind of experience could apply to virtually any vertical. Since all businesses need to onboard new customers, they need to manage various costs and adjust to our new normal. All right, so our user in this example is Veronica. She registered for a new account recently. And what we'll do is proactively engage her with a welcome email. This email links to a personalized interactive video to onboard her as a new customer and then guide her to the next logical step. In this case, for her, it's going to be registering for self service and downloading the bank's new app. As she's going through that process, she has questions, which will be answered by the bank's chatbot. But then she asks a question that requires human intervention. So the chatbot seamlessly escalates Veronica to a live agent who answers her question and provides that human touch at just the right moment. Later on, an event matching Veronica's registered interests will be approaching. She hasn't registered to actually go to that event, so the organization reaches out to her through SMS to engage her at the right time, and she opts to register for the event and participate, taking her from being a new account all the way to being a loyal and active supporter. So that's the broad overview of the entire journey. Now we'll take a look at the specific experiences that that journey is made up of. If we go to the first slide here, we'll see we have Veronica's personalized email. So on the right side of the screen, um, you see the email greets her by name. So that raises the message's relevance because it's not just some generic dear customer letter. It's formatted for her device. She's looking at it on mobile, so it's easy to read and visually process. The email reminds Veronica of what she found enticing about this particular organization, their involvement in the local community, and it invites her to watch her personalized video. So there's a clear call to action there. If we look at the lower left of the screen, you can see the interface for creating this email. As you can see, it's a drag and drop kind of interface. So you're choosing blocks from the right side to drop into the design area on the left. You can add images, buttons, dividers, text blocks, tables, different layouts, and then you can modify elements in different ways. Change the colors of the buttons, for example, or add or subtract padding, all kinds of different options to make it look exactly how you need it to look. Designing the email only takes a few minutes, and then personalizing the email is easy with Engage One's approach that enables you to easily add your data and then use it however you want in the body of the communication. So you can see the green first name bubble there. That's an example of one of the personalizations available based on the data. And you can specify a default. So if there's an issue with the data, an entry is missing, first name, for example, you don't get a blank result. You'll see the word friend, I think, as we have it there. So that's a pretty straightforward example. But if you wanted to push the communication further by adding conditionals to it, you can. For example, if you want to tailor promotions or other content based on what the recipient has or maybe has not purchased from you, you can do that easily as well. And then when you're ready, you can preview the communication within the designer to see how it looks on desktop, tablet, and mobile. You can preview with data applied, so you can spot check personalizations based on your data set. And you can send a test run to gather feedback that way as well. So it's a very flexible approach that means you can launch emails in minutes, not days or weeks. So if we go back to Veronica and onto the next slide, she clicks the button in the email, and that leads her to her personalized interactive video. This is an immersive, real time experience that combines video, music, voiceover, forms, buttons, and data to help Veronica understand what she's signed up for and what the next logical next steps are for her, and lets her also drive the experience because her choices determine what happens next. In the segment of the video that was just playing, she's presented with options of how she would prefer to help her local community in conjunction with this bank. So she chooses park cleanup volunteer and to learn more about the bank's app. And now, if you look at the lower left corner, you can see the interface used to create this experience. It's a web based interface, like everything that we're looking at here, that enables an average knowledge worker to quickly create real time interactive, personalized videos, pulling in video assets from a library that we provide or uploading your own branded video assets. For the voiceovers, you don't need to hire a professional to narrate. Instead, you can use our built in AI driven text to speech capability that lets you choose from dozens of different voices, male, female, different nationalities to really bring life to the experience. And it's all backed by analytics so you can track performance to understand how users are engaging with your videos. We're talking about an onboarding experience here, but you could just as easily do um, an event invite, a product explainer, a check-in video. Maybe it's a sales situation. You could send a follow-up to a sales meeting. There are many use cases for this kind of technology. If we go to the next slide, we'll look at the next part of her journey. So Veronica, so based on her personalized video experience, she decides to check out the app. Before she downloads it, she has some questions and she engages the bank's chatbot to get some answers. Now, this is an automated conversation. As you can see here from the example, it's more like a modern messaging app experience than a traditional text exchange. So we have interactivity, right? There are buttons, there are menus, image carousels, all these different options that really propel a conversation forward quickly, taking away some of the pain that you might experience typing on a mobile keyboard, for example. At a certain point in the conversation, Veronica asks a question that the automation was just not best suited to answer. So the bot automatically escalates to a live agent and seamlessly transitions. And you can see that on the right side of the screen, that box there. The agent introduces themselves before jumping in to actually resolve the situation. Over on the left side, you can see the live takeover interface, from the agent perspective. So the conversation requiring human intervention is highlighted in red. So that's Veronica in trouble. And the agent can click into it to see a preview of that conversation before they take it over. And that's actually really important because now they don't need to ask Veronica to repeat any of what she's already told the bot, which, if you've been in that kind of experience before, you switch channels and they lose context, so you have to repeat yourself. That's a very annoying and disruptive part of the experience. So with this approach, that's minimized. Instead, the agent can get the context beforehand and start the conversation from a more informed vantage point, in making for a better agent experience as well as a better consumer experience for Veronica. If we go to the next slide, we'll come to the last part of Veronica's journey. So remember, she's received the email, watched the video, had her questions answered by the chatbot with Live Takeover, and now we're a couple of weeks down the line, and an event is coming up in a couple of days that we want to make her aware of and participate in. She's already given us permission to contact her by text message. She's told us beforehand that she's interested in this kind of event. Remember, volunteering to clean up local parks. So time is running out. She hasn't registered for the event yet. So we send her a personalized SMS. We greet her by name and provide info on what to do next. Research shows that 95% of text messages are opened within 3 minutes of delivery. So Veronica notices the message come in, she reads it and decides to take action. She registers for the event. In the lower left, you can see the interface for creating the SMS. Again, a really clean interface that lets you create the message, personalize it using data, and provides feedback on how many characters you've used to help you stay concise and on message. If we go to the next slide. So behind the scenes, there are analytics capturing data on how your customers are interacting with these communications. So this here is an example of the reporting dashboard for emails and SMS, which you can break down by date range. So you can see the metrics for how many messages were sent, how many were opened, bounced, clicks for emails, and then drill down to the individual user levels so you can see how the individual recipients interacted with your messages. For videos and chatbots, the reporting looks different because they're measuring different things, but you still get the information that you need to understand how your customers interacted so that way you can optimize as you move forward. If we go to the next slide, we have some other journeys here. So we went through an onboarding journey, but of course, you could apply these technologies to an array of different use cases. So here are just three more ideas to maybe get your mind, get your gears kind of turning. So if you think of an acquisition experience or renewals or appointment scheduling, that's another big one. All of these are great opportunities to leverage digital to create compelling, personalized consumer experiences, right? SMS for when you need that immediate response, chatbots with live takeover for when you need that human touch, and interactive personalized video. All of these things help you drive business results, right? They help you streamline process, minimize the costs of last minute cancellations or no show appointments, or market new products more effectively at a lower cost. If we go to the next slide. So as we've seen here, right, CX leaders know that it's not just the future that's digital, it's now, and that these seamless, personalized digital experiences drive results. So if you like what you've seen here today, I would encourage you to check out our booth, or you can connect with me offline. So thank you for your time. That's it for me.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. An applause for me. And what I find really interesting, and maybe we have a few minutes to elaborate on that, because questions are being answered in chat, so we don't even have to do that anymore, is what I find interesting, we didn't elaborate on that this morning, is the quick to build statement. And from our profession, we sometimes tie that to what we call business delegation. Right? Why is that so important to you? And how did you let's say compensate for that in the offerings you have?
That's a great question. So we've invested a lot in our UX team to get in and do those kind of conversations, evaluations with folks across the business. So the interesting thing to me that's really jumped out over the last 6 to 12 months has been we tend to focus on what we call like the knowledge worker, like somebody within the business, and making tools that are really easy for them to use, right? So you saw drag and drop and some of the other ideas in there. What's interesting though is that also applies in some ways to the more technical users as well, right? So they're not looking for there are different uses, right? Somebody who's maybe in the marketing division, they're probably not going to set up conditional statements for which promotions to show to somebody. They're going to turn that over to a marketing specialist. But the marketing specialist is looking for something similar to the business user, in the sense of they want a nice interface to use, something that lets them do what they need to do, but do it faster, easier, because they have so many demands on them, so much they need to do. So that's where I see kind of the crossover, right? Really taking this approach of everybody needs to get the work done faster because it's piling up, situations are changing constantly. So giving them the ability to create these kind of experiences faster and learn about them faster and adjust as they need to. That's critical for them. So it's critical for us to reflect that in the software too.
I can imagine. Yeah, I've got one more question before I hand you off to Philippe, who also has one for you. You talked about accountability, and also something we did not discuss in great detail this morning was about, that digital self-service or digital interaction will enable you not only to be, let's say, interactive, but it will also enable you to really track, trace, and measure what your customer is doing. By the way, on the verge of maybe becoming, and that was already discussed, too personal and creepy. But do you have any specific examples on how to use those analytics and statistics to improve let's say, your customer experience?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'll use chatbots. I think is a good example here. So what we've seen for um, some customers, so they start out with, they need to reduce that kind of 80% of the um, kind of stuff that doesn't require a human to actually answer, right? It clogs up the queue, and uh, what they do is implement kind of those top 3 to 5 FAQs, right? So this is what takes up most of the agent's time. It doesn't require a human to answer. Let's kind of take care of those first. And typically what they see coming out of that is, they get the good response. Yeah, they're clearing out the queue, but then they're also learning things along the way. Certain questions come in that the bot, wasn't programmed to handle, right? It's handling these 5 things, not this kind of one-off thing. But then interestingly, looking at the analytics of that one-off thing tips them off to something else that's happening in the business that they weren't aware of. So kind of getting that flash of insight that then says, oh, okay, didn't hear about that. Let's go talk to customer service or whomever to kind of see, is this a bigger issue that we don't know about? Or is this kind of a canary in a coal mine sort of situation? So I think that's one example of kind of deploying one of these technologies, addressing the situation, and then seeing as a result of that there's actually some other stuff that we didn't know about that then they can take some action on.
Well, that's a great answer, Chris. And I still remember, by the way, with the Star SHL chatbot we did, just about the first day we went live, their call center, their phone system died. So then the chatbot became the only way for customers to even be able to contact and give back the feedback, and triggered that there was something wrong. So that's another way of looking at that as well.
Right.
Philip has got one question for you
Yeah,
as well.
sure. I have
Last
one, Chris. Yeah, Chris, we have met a lot lately. My new friend online. I see you again. Thank you for your presentation.
I see you dressed up.
Yeah, sorry. We are in Europe. Americans are a bit different, but we have GDPR here. So there is a question around GDPR. So, how great is the impact on reaching the customers being blocked by GDPR? I think you know the answer. I also have my opinion on that. But share your thoughts on that one, Chris.
Yeah, so it is definitely, you want permission in order to contact folks, right? So you're not sending out SMS that somebody has not allowed you to send. You don't want to be in that sort of position. So it's definitely a complicating factor. And it does point to one of the ideas too around, I think, data integrity and making sure that, before you do these things, making sure you've got the data right, making sure you have the permission. And if somebody decides that they don't want communication with you after that point, making sure you have the processes in place to kind of account for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's about getting the permission right. And once you've got the permission, it's also respecting that
right.
permission you got. And if not, just for all the audience, all the servers are located in Europe, so we're safe there. And if required, we can delete all the data without any issues. So I think that looking at the time, Chris,
it was a great pleasure talking with you again. Thank you for sacrificing your time to be here virtually with us. Next time, I hope it'll be personal. And see you next time. Bye-bye.